So today we are talking about, is self-sabotage keeping you stuck? And so this is a question. So it's a beautiful follow on from our rating ourselves. So let's say you rated yourself and you're like a 5. So let's say 5 or going higher than that. That could conceivably be some form of stuckness. And so
yeah, it doesn't have to be a 10 stuck. It can be a 2
No,
stuck.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Let's break this one apart a little bit though. How would you define self-sabotage?
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, dear Deb. Welcome, listeners. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset podcast conversations. But of course, I was gonna say this is a goodie. It is a goodie. I think this is a really important topic that we're going to talk about today. So I'm interested.
It's so common.
It is. It's a real common self-sabotage. I hear those kind of conversations so many times. So this is going to be a really good one. And we trust that you get lots and lots of awesome nuggets to kind of get out your own way. But of course, talking about getting in our own ways.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. If you've listened to us before, welcome back. Glad to have you here. And if you haven't listened to us, welcome. What we like to do before we kick off our conversations is to assess ourselves and just check in. And when I'm talking about checking in on what I like to think of as the 4 pillars of you, or your PEMS, as we talk about often on different episodes. So that's the PEMS. So how are you doing physically? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing mentally? And how are you doing spiritually? There's no right or wrong answers. It's about just being willing to pause for a second and just see, how's it going? So what we're going to do is we're all going to give ourselves a number at the outset of this conversation, and we encourage you to check in with yourself when we hit the halftime point of our episode today, and then we'll all check in at the end. And of course, the intent of our conversations is to help you easily move closer to the 0. So the 0, so talking about that, we're rating ourselves on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is feeling completely zen, peaceful, present, calm, soothed, harmonious, all of those. And then 10 is feeling chaotic.
That's what it is.
Yes, 0 is that. And 10 is feeling really stuck. Maybe we're talking about self-sabotage keeping you stuck. That can actually maybe generate a 10, maybe even beyond that. So 10 is where you're just feeling crazy, chaotic, OMGs, don't know what to do. And truth is, we all move up and down that scale. And so that's why I said that this is just a press pause for a wee moment and give yourself a number. So all that being said, where are you, my dear?
I'm going to say a 2. And the reason I'm saying 2, not that I need to give a reason, but I'm going to, is because I would have said I was pretty much a 0.5. And then as soon as you started talking and you put into we're going to be doing the number, my head went, oh my God, okay, where am I at? What's my body saying? What's my voice saying? How's this? And I went, 2. And I went, is it really a 2? So I'm going to say a 2 because I did go and my body started going and I went, oh, it's that body and thoughts again going, there's something bigger going on, Deborah. So I'm going to say a 2. End of story.
That's usually the way it is. And so for a similar reason, I'm actually giving myself a 1. It's just simply because as I was setting all of that up and welcoming you into our conversation, I became aware of a little subtle scratchiness in my throat. And that's usually a sign of pay attention, might have to speed
Awareness.
things up or slow things down or do the pattern check-in and pattern interrupt, all those fun things. But so listeners, we encourage you to just make a wee note, write that down. And talking about making wee notes, we do encourage you to have a note-taking device, pen, paper, pencil paper, or
Moira will have a purple one.
I'll have a purple one. I do have a purple one.
Of course,
See,
of course she has a purple
right
one.
Here.
I had one. She sent it to me, but I've run out now. It's okay.
Oh, I have to send you another one.
Okay.
So today we are talking about, is self-sabotage keeping you stuck? And so this is a question. So the beautiful follow on from our rating ourselves. So let's say you rated yourself and you're like at a 5. So let's say 5 or going higher than that. That could conceivably be some form of stuckness. And so
it doesn't have to be a 10 stuck. It can be a 2 stuck.
Of course. Of course. Let's break this one apart a little bit, though. How would you define self-sabotage?
Oh, not moving, stagnant. So mine is actually, so it's actually literally still and avoiding and diverting and just putting that pressure on yourself. At that last minute. And then the mental chit chat of, I can't believe I did this again. How many times do I do this? And there's that word procrastination that comes in that drives me insane, that procrastination word. It's like that. Here I am doing it again. Right. It's that whole self-sabotage. I knew this is going to happen. Why am I doing this? And the internal chatter, which then becomes external chatter because often it comes out. Fires out. Others. Leave me alone, I'm trying to do this. Why'd you leave it to the last minute? In fact, we actually had that last night on the couch. My partner said to me, I'm just trying to write something and you keep talking to me. And I'm like, when's it for? And she said, first thing in the morning. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night. Why are you writing it now? She's like, why are you talking to me? I'm like, okay, right. Do you want a hand? No, don't want it from you. Okay, right. But there was that whole, okay, well, there you go. Right there and then. It's self-sabotage keeping you stuck. What would you define self-sabotage as?
So similar to you, I feel like self-sabotage, the reason it keeps you stuck.
There's little ones and then there's the big ones.
Very true. Yes, which we've talked about, the little Nemo slap, and then the tuna, and then the dolphin, and then
and then the whale.
But you see, to me, self-sabotage could be something like you go to bed one night and you say, Kate, tomorrow I'm going to get up half an hour early and I'm going to write in my journal. And you set your alarm for that. And then as the alarm goes off, self-sabotage would show up as, you're too tired. I don't want it. Don't. And so that I'm not the type of person that writes in a journal. So I don't have to do that. And that's the self-sabotage that says,
excuses. Is it an excuse?
It can be an excuse, but it's usually a critical voice. That self-sabotage is always a critical voice. It's like, why are you doing this? And people like you don't do this. And you've never done it before. So why are you trying to do something differently now?
It takes 21 days to do a habit. And now you're on 20 and you want to stop on the 21st day? How's that going to work for you? Yeah. I bet you that self-sabotage voice.
That it just sounds just like that. But also, like to your example, because it could be an internal dialogue of, oh my God, I better get it done, and then a self-sabotage thing says, why do you leave it to the last minute? You always seem to leave it to the last minute. You're so crazy. You're not good on time management. right?
Well, my number one tip was actually to stop overthinking.
Yes, that's excellent.
And you know where that tip came from? When you went, oh, we're going to do the number, or however you word it, and I went, oh no, what am I? And I went on a marathon, and I went, oh, Deborah, there's your number one tip: stop overthinking.
And it's exactly
Listen to me.
because
did you like the way I went, oh, Deborah, negative self-talk, Deborah, stop overthinking, and then I'm like, oh, there's your number one tip. in that same voice of mine, oh, Deborah, there's your number one tip.
That's cute. But this is the perfect tip, because that self-sabotage is an internal voice, which is the overthinking. So who are you listening to? Are you listening to the wise, intuitive inner wisdom that says yes? Or are you listening to that you're an idiot, you can't do that, that's stupid, and you have to think,
who are you?
Oh my God,
who's telling you to do this?
What? Yeah.
Well, I guess from that there is own it, as label it. Whatever, if you want to say own it, I guess that's another tip actually, or it could be tip 1B, is own it, label it. Whatever you want to do, just go, okay, that acknowledge. Oh, we all want to be seen,
I was just going to say, this is actually an awareness, right? So there's an awareness and acknowledge. So that's what these are. Label it, own it, label it. That's being aware of it. Actually, the labeling it would be acknowledging it. Like, hello, my dear friend, self-sabotage.
Oh, I spot you a mile off. You know, when you see somebody and you go, oh, I can see that person, I spot them a mile off. Or you're looking at a car and you go, oh, I can see another yellow car. You're spotting it a mile off. That self-sabotage is right there in front of you. You can't run, you just have to see it. Go, oh, okay, that's what it is. And even the moment you do that, the whole sting, and you acknowledge it, it's like, oh, that's what it is. Right. Then the sting of it drops down from that 10.
It doesn't have power over you so much.
Yeah. It still has a little bit, definitely. There's still a niggle in there, but there's that, oh, okay, I can see that. Oh, this is one of those things again. I know what you're trying to do to me.
Yep.
Whether you deal with it or not, but that's the label, awareness, and acknowledge.
Absolutely. I like that. A tip that I would say here, with it being this self-sabotage, you see, the truth is we all have a wee inner saboteur. Sometimes we have huge ones. But you see, I think that
look around the room.
and so this tip is all around mindfulness. It's like taking the position of being the observed and the observer in the same moment, which means if you've got an inner dialogue that's prattling away, that, oh my God, I don't have enough time for this, and I'm not good enough, and I don't stop for a minute. Maybe this is time to stop, put your hand on your heart, take a nice deep breath, and then you could even say thank you to the saboteur voice. Thank you. Because that saboteur voice is kind of trying to keep you safe in some way or shape or form. So that you don't look like a fool, or you don't get something wrong, or you don't embarrass yourself, right? So say thank you, but then come back to what's the goal? What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you are setting out to do, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm actually just reframing this, because I'm numbering these individually here, because once we've labeled it, then the next one is actually hand on heart, because that alone is not even an ABC. That is hand on heart, and thank you is a massive tip.
Yeah.
Even if listeners here, you just do one tip out of everything.
That's the priority one.
And that's not an ABC. And then the next tip is define your outcome. What do you want? What do you desire? Like, and that is actually another tip. And what ends up happening with these conversations is we go, hang on, whoa, where's all these tips? They're just flowing. But that's actually another one, is define your outcome. And I talked about this recently on my Facebook Live. I worked for a department store when I was like 18 or 19, and people would come in and they would moan about, oh, this is a problem and this is, and I go, great, what would you like? What would you like? And they'd be like, what do you mean? Here's this 18-year-old talking to a 40-year-old who's complaining about their furniture or a hire purchase, and they go, what would you like? Oh, I don't know. Like, okay, well, I can't help you if you can't tell me. What would you like? And Moira did a lovely one the other day with me, as she said, what don't you want?
Yeah.
Which threw the whole thing out like, oh, so people often go, what do you want? And they're like, okay, so what don't you want?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we do get trapped into that, oh, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want, which, how are we going to work it out if you can't tell us what you want? But then if you go, what don't you want? Then we can work backwards or
Precisely.
Sideways or
forward.
A
lot of people are really expert at telling you what they don't want. And that's the whole point of me saying it that way, is because, and to your point, when within the store, people say, well, I don't want to be spoken to like that, and I don't want to be ripped off, and I don't want to have a defective
you have an idea, because otherwise you're pushing a wet noodle and you have no, you go, okay, would you like a discount? No. Do you want us to give you extra product? No. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. It's like, okay, well, tell me, because I'm not going to offer you a lot of things.
Right.
Because my boss is going to skin me alive for a start. But what do you want? So I can go and there can be a negotiation or a conversation around this. Right. But those two things are a tip individually. Hand on heart and thank you is just grounding. And then define your outcome without going back to number one. Don't overthink.
Yeah. It's coming from your heart, because remember, you're on your heart.
Yeah, so the outcome is actually after you got that hand on the heart, because you're not in your head, you're in your heart going, what is it that I desire here?
Yes. And see, all of these are permutations of mindfulness, which is what I brought up. So the thing about the mindfulness to me is, mindfulness is making the decision or the commitment that you are going to stay present with whatever's happening in this moment without trying to change it. So in doing that, we can say, okay, maybe you've got a whole bunch of chaos going around you in your outer reality, and you've got it in your inner reality, and you pause and put your hand on your heart. And you're not going to say, oh, I have to change all these things or have to do all these things. I'm just going to sit here and be mindful of what is mine to do here. Right? Because sometimes that self-sabotage can be all caught up in telling stories about what I don't want, as opposed to saying, I've made a decision, this is what's going to be my outcome. And but even that, as powerful as that is, it's so important to then realize that you're a co-creator. You're tapping into the power, energetic power of the universe as well. So you do your bit. And as you know, when I'm saying that, I'm thinking about the teachings of Mike Dooley, who he's
I like him.
I do too.
I really like him.
You
did training, didn't you?
I did a training, and I've actually met him. But
how tall is he? Can I just interrupt everything? As you know, we're talking about self-sabotage.
Just a slight bit taller than me, and I'm 6 foot, so he is.
I always thought he was super, super tall. Well, you're super tall.
Yes,
super tall compared to.
He is super tall. His brother's not as tall, because I've met his brother too. His brother is Andy, and his brother's not as tall as he is. But no, Mike is taller than I am.
He's got some great wisdom.
He really does. But why I was thinking of that, about this idea of making sure that we're not listening to this saboteur, and we're not feeling like we have to do everything, because we are co-creators. But what landed in my awareness when I was saying that was what he talks about is the cursed house. Because when so in your part, you said define your outcome. So if you say, okay, my outcome is that I'm going to teach a workshop to 12 people, that's your outcome. And then your saboteur voice goes, well, you've never done it before. And how on earth are you going to get 12 people enrolled in this course? And how on earth are you going to pull the content and the manual and the slides and all? How are you going to do all that? Cursed house. That's what Mike Dooley talks about.
I love that.
Yes, we don't do that.
Moira and I talked off screen today, off air, and it was like, oh, this and this, and then I had the curse of house. I literally had that. I went, oh, how?
Yeah.
I literally had that. It's when she's telling, I'm like, she's saying that to me. She's not listening. That's not for you, podcast buddies. That's actually purely for me. She just threw a dig at me to go, guess what you did this morning, Deborah?
No, it's actually when I say things like that, it's for me too.
For
for all of us. But you see what I mean? That. It's like, and that is because that'll freeze us and keep us in this sense of stuck. It's like, okay, I can't get out of my chair until I figure it all out. How this is going to happen and how that, and right? That's a tip on its own. Don't get stuck in the cursed house.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. I'm going to add a little bit onto that tip because I just wrote another tip before, and it was failure. And failure. And I went, and I remember when my daughter was going into the Air Force, and I remember having a meltdown, and one of the beautiful people around me, she said, and I said, oh, what if it doesn't work out for her? And I got really emotional. So I'm getting emotional now. And she said, what if it did work out for her?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, what if it did? What if it did? And it only worked for a week, a month, a year. She's, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know how long she's in the Air Force now. But it was
it's
that.
A while.
What if it? Yeah. But yeah. And she's still there. What if it did work out? And I remember just bawling my eyes out, going, "Oh my gosh, I've been really looking at the." And for me, as a stressologist, I look at the upsides of things, and I literally started looking at the downside. What if it didn't work out for her? What if it's going to be, she's going to fail, or what if she's going to beat herself up? And she just put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, "What if it did work out?" And I remember thinking, "Oh my God, you just stopped all my self-sabotage straight away." Then you just reframed, and I went, and I hadn't even looked at the flowers over the weeds, as I reference it, and that, you know, how will I do this? The curse of hows. What if it did work out?
I love that. And so I'm going to tag on from that too.
Okay.
Because what you made me realize is, and I think we tend to forget that in this human experience, is that everything's on a spectrum. We live in polarity. And we're conditioned to stay safe. And I'm putting my fingers in the air.
Yeah. And those fingers are quotations, safe. Not the other way. I'm doing the other way. It's the balance. There's the balance between Moira and Deb right there.
But here's the thing. Where I'm coming from with that is that we live in polarity, which means we are aware of both ends of the spectrum, right? So we only know that it's light because we know what dark is. We only know when it's warm because we also know what cold is. We know what dry is because we know what wet is. So similarly, we know what it is for things to go brilliantly well and all work out and click into place. And we know what it's like for nothing to work out right and everything to fall apart. Yeah. We know them. So then, and this is what makes us so powerful, this whole thing about self-sabotage keeping you stuck. It's like, so what end of the spectrum are you putting your attention on? Keeping it stuck and I can't do anything until I figure it all out, or okay, I've got all this crazy making sabotage, beating me up type of stuff going on in my head, and I'm going to take that one step, just one baby step, even if it's a baby step. And that's when you start to ease out of it. And you know, the self-sabotage dialogue, potentially the volume turns down because you're doing it. You're getting somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I know the moment I look at the flowers over the weeds, life changes.
Yeah.
Your shoulders are back. And I'm not talking about a rah-rah shoulders. You're actually just living and breathing in the moment once again. And I guess, yeah, you do. You just feel different. Your body feels different. That flow, Dr. You know, it's on the way, not in the way.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love that one.
Yeah, and it just does, and it just feels right. And then you get that brick wall, and you're like, okay, let's just do a little assessment here, and jumping into the masculine brain. oh, we're back in our feminine flowing again. Now, I'm not saying men masculine don't flow. I'm just talking about the feminine and masculine energy. If I can
Which we all
reframe
have,
that.
regardless if you're a female or a
Whether
male.
you
We all have masculine and feminine energy within us.
perfect. Thank you. But it's on the way. It's all on the way, not in the way. And that's what we forget, I think more and more.
Do you know what this is making me think of, though? And it's something that you've brought up before about when something comes up. So let's say in your example, you know, you're going along, ticking along, and all of a sudden, bang, you're up against a wall. You once talked about when things like that come up, you get excited. You're like, oh, what's here?
I just write that down. Gratitude, excited, yes. Celebrated.
Yes, exactly. Like, oh, here's a wall. What? This is for me, not against me, right?
Yeah.
So yes, gratitude, celebrate, play, fun.
Well, I guess that's also all of those last little things is reframing.
Yes. But it's reframing, but also with that thing of which end of the spectrum. Way. Which end of the spectrum are you going to look at it? Are you going to look at this problem, or there's a solution too? I just can't see it right now.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's 3 weeds next to that beautiful flower. Let's look. Are those weeds doing anything? Do we need them there? Whatever. But looking at that, yeah. Well, that. So my. Oh, I don't even know where to go on this one after this. But my thing is environment, and I'm going to say environment is really important, really important. And it's look at the people around you, look at the surroundings around you. What is that environment doing to you? And I'm constantly looking at up leveling. Now I have this squeaky chair. I've had this squeaky chair for a year or something. And just for the record, look, I'm moving, and there's no squeak.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciously-motivated-mindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciously-motivated-mindset.com/gift.
No, do you know why? Because I went, it's too hard to go buy a chair, self-sabotage, too hard to go buy a chair. So when I do my videos, I have to sit on the side. One of my butt cheeks get hurt because I literally sit in the one spot. And if I move, it can squeak, and it's on an angle. And this whole thing I've done.
Big story. That's a self-sabotage story.
That is a massive story. And I'm like, it's too hard to look for a chair that I like, that's going to be comfortable, and I'm going to be able to put it in, it's going to work for me. That has been a story for a year and a half. Well, last week I went, you know what? Can you just let that? And I bought a new chair, and this chair is so much better, and multiple. But look, there's no squeak. I'm actually, just for the record, I'm wiggling my whole body here, and there's no squeak, and it's so comfortable. So your environment, what is that? What are you attracting into your environment? Now, I did that self-sabotage for a year and a half. I would have a right side butt cheek sore for whatever during my videos, all that stuff.
That's pretty stuck. That is pretty stuck.
That's how I know how mature was that, Deborah. I'm not going to invest in. I don't have time to research a chair. For goodness sake, just suck it up. That's a massive and it's just a flippin' chair, but it has caused so much. Started flaking on the floor, the leather parts, and I was like, oh, this is going to drive me insane. And I just leveled up.
I love it.
And so that environment of people and surroundings is find your glitter.
Well, it's actually a reflection of what's going on in you, right?
Yeah.
The squeaky chair was a reflection of that dialogue in your mind.
Well, I think I've created more programs and more ideas in the last 4 days with this new chair than I have in the last year. They've all been in my head. But that is a big self-sabotage. Now, we're not talking about, I'm not going to buy this or whatever that's. But that has been a painful physical for probably probably a year and a half, a good year and a half. A good year and a half.
Yeah, because I know you've talked about it numerous times we've talked about this one. But here's the thing that I just thought of when you were saying that too. You know, I was saying about being the observed and the observer. So in that, the observer kind of needs to take this neutral stance and go, oh, okay, you're telling that story again. Okay.
Yeah, see,
there's that story again. There's the
I heard that story, and
okay.
then I just ignored. I went, righto.
Right.
Okay,
it's like, okay, there's the story again. But then at one point, the observed gets to say, you know, I'm bored of telling the story.
A year and a half.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how long. Doesn't matter how long.
Oh,
you know,
that squeak. Did you hear that? Bloody thing just squeaked.
Oh no. Oh no, we've put
funny.
too much attention on it.
That's funny. But I love that it's about, that's an example right there.
Yeah, it's a brilliant example. But do you see what I mean about the flow? It's like not to use that to beat yourself up and say, what's wrong with me? How come I went for a year and a half putting up with it or allowing the story to continue? Because it's like, so what? So what? I can think of multiple examples of I recently was working with somebody, well, recently, a couple of years ago.
We say everything's recently, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Working with somebody who she was in her 60s, and I was teaching her some fundamental pieces around self-care and really saying, you know, self-care has to go on the top of your priority list. But of course, if self-sabotage is there, it ain't. It's going to be on the bottom. Yeah. And so she'd lived all her life, you know, putting the needs of her kids and her business and her partner at the top. And so here I'm teaching her these things, and she got really, really upset at one point and beating herself up. It's like, oh my God, how come it took me so long to learn this? Like, they're so fundamental and so important and crucial. I wish I could. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, don't we all say that? I wish I learned this at school. Why didn't I learn this when I was growing up?
Yeah,
your time. You probably heard it. You just weren't listening. You're playing in the sandpit with.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to you until you're ready. That's the key piece. And self-sabotage will actually derail it. If you're not ready to learn something new or take in a new habit or mindset pattern, it's no amount of bonking you on the head with it is going to make sense to you, right?
We just talked about that off camera this morning, off thing. We just talked about doing something and then going back a month later and refreshing, doing it again, and going, we literally, and that's exactly it. You're just like, oh, I didn't hear that. I've attended one of John DeMartini's courses, The Breakthrough Experience, and I've probably attended it maybe 75, 100 times. And then about one time in, he said something and I went, oh, that's so good. And everyone around went, he says it all the time. And then he's going to say this, and then he's going to, and I was like, what? And then literally John said that, and then he said that, and I was like, how have I missed this? And they're like, how did you miss this? And I'm like, wow, I've been to about 50 of them and I've missed it. And now I just know the pattern of what he's going to say different ways. But that's exactly it. You weren't ready for that there.
Yeah. And so it's not a how come or why, because it's like, because of what, it didn't land, it didn't resonate, it didn't click. You know, you're reminding me, and I think I've told you this before, about clients that are my hypnosis clients, that I will record a self-hypnosis audio and say, go listen to this in between our sessions. And I always remember this one client used to say to me, Moira, are you sure you don't sneak into my room at night and say different things?
I do.
So every single time she listened to it, she'd say, I was saying something different.
But that's exactly it. It's like you're ready for it next thing. Well, I love that. I think that I'm going to add a tip onto that, is because you said it and I went, and that's start little.
Yeah.
But the little's not little. Start little. You know, when you talk about that self-care, just start. Okay, if it just means taking a minute to stretch in the air, and just start.
Just one stretch. Just
Just don't worry about it. I can't reach
your head and down. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't touch the ground. Don't even force yourself. Just go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. Just do start little, which little is not little. It's significant. Just start.
It is significant. And so maybe you might think of it as you're taking one step, and it does not matter if it's a baby step or a giant leap. It's one step. And that's how you start getting things achieved and created, right? Yeah.
Well, that self-care is very funny. I did a talk at a skincare conference recently, and I'm onto my skincare some days, other days not so much. And I thought, and I went there and we started talking, and they said, oh, you know, da da da. And I was like, da 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 back. And then one of them saw my legs, and she says, oh, I've got this really great moisturizer you could use on your legs. And I said, oh, that'll be helpful. They said, how often do you moisturize your legs? Now, this is just a simple thing I say to people. And I said, oh, every 6 weeks. And she went, what? I said, yeah, when I go get my legs waxed. And she went, what? I said, every 6 weeks I go and I get my legs waxed, and which is actually now back to 5.5, because it works in my diary. And I said every 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks, and I go and she waxes my legs, and then she gives me moisture, and she goes, that's the only time you do it? I went, yeah. She goes, Deborah. And there I realized I am talking to these beautiful skin consultants and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I get mine done every 5.5 weeks or 6 weeks now. And they were mortified. And then I was like, I know. And then I was like, but every day since I've been back, I'm moisturizing. I'm not doing it at night. I'm moisturizing my legs every morning. And my legs, my legs are appreciating them. I can feel them when I'm moisturizing. They're just going, thank you. And so this is the self-care. It doesn't have to take a long time, but I'm actually really, and I'm giggling as I'm doing it, going, yeah, I'm appreciating you, legs. You know, you're looking much better, and I'm appreciating that conversation with these women who are all in their zone. But the look on their faces were, what? When do you? I said, yeah, every 6 weeks. I'm like, why 6? I went, oh, when I go get my legs waxed. I don't do it. The lady does it. I'm out for, you know, and they were just like, wow. But it's just start. And that self-care is just so simple, but start.
Yes.
And my legs are looking very different, I have to say. I'm not going to put a photo of my legs up, but just those little things was really amazing.
It is the little things. And to your point, your body thanks you.
I swear I can hear it go, thank you. Yeah. As I moisturize it, it's actually acknowledging me in gratitude. It's going, thank you. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I do often talk back and go, yeah, I'm a little bit sorry it took so long, but you're getting there now. We're getting there. Even though I don't say sorry in real life. I'm like, yeah, I'm nourishing you now. Thank you.
That's funny.
But it took the look of from people to go, actually, you're probably right. This is probably not a great thing to be doing to my body. I say to people, get a decent moisturizer, moisturize your body. Feel it, love it, touch it. I say this to people. I just haven't been walking my talk. No,
you're funny. No. My body would just like not tolerate it if I didn't moisturize as much as I do.
Well, I moved to the North Island, and it's different.
I do it every day. I do it every day.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I've got my favorite soap I like to wash my body with. If I use any other soap, I'm like, doesn't feel as good. But at least I still do it. If I don't have the right soap, I'm still doing it. I have hand creams all over my office.
Actually, so do I. So do I. I have my favorite hand cream is right there.
Oh, that's funny.
Chamomile. It's got chamomile in it. Oh, look at you. Look at, we're showing each other our hand moisturizers are sitting right here on our desk.
But it is literally just start little. Start little. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. But that little is actually not little. It's incredibly significant.
Do you know the thing that I just thought of when you were saying that is starting little is proving to yourself that you are worthy. Whereas self-sabotage is saying you're not. Right? So that's the tipping the balance that you are worthy. And even if it is just the tiniest of tiny baby steps, it's actually reminding yourself you are worthy. Maybe you need to say that. I am worthy.
Yes. We're going to wrap up now, which is a shame, but not a shame. But I'm actually at the very, very end, I'm going to ask Moira to do something. She doesn't know what I'm going to ask her to do, but because we're going to end on one particular thing. I would like her to end on one particular thing because I think it'll just be a beautiful way. So no other tips, no more tips.
No more tips. No, we have a lot to recap here.
I know we have. Holy, I've got 11 written down. I don't know how you go.
So do I. Oh, so do I. Let's see if we've got the same.
Okay. So number 1. Oh, do you want to start with number 1?
Sure, I can start.
Everybody, quick, grab your pen and paper right now.
Yes.
If you've been doing anything, right now, go and go.
First one, stop overthinking.
That doesn't need anything else to it. That's
Doesn't
it.
need any other. Just
No
stop
fluffy.
overthinking. That's it. Done.
Yeah,
Done.
perfect. That's the quickest tip ever. It is, stop overthinking.
Yep.
Number 2 is label. And we labeled it of awareness and acknowledge. That's it. Just go, okay, this is what it is. This is what it is. Right, great. Then we're going to give you the tips to flow into that. But number 2 is just label it. Just go, okay, I can see this is self-sabotage. You can label it whatever you want. It's just about having that awareness acknowledged from it.
Yeah. Having that, awareness, owning it, labeling it, acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Not making yourself wrong about it, by the way, because we all have this.
Yeah, that
No
little
matter.
voice.
Yes. The next one I noted down was when I talked about the mindfulness, the being present, and it actually fed on beautifully from that labeling it and owning it, but also realizing that you are the observer. You are not that self-sabotage dialogue or blah 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 chatter. You know, if you're overthinking and you've got a big conversation going on in your mind, you are not that voice. You are not that conversation. You are the one who's listening to it or witnessing it. So it's about saying, okay, well, this is interesting. See if you can have a bit of an interested kind of piece and so from there, I went into saying the best way to start that I know is to pause, put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath. And then go from there. Right?
And thank you. Hand on heart and thank you.
Yes. Hand on heart and thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then we go from the feminine straight to the masculine.
and
we go define your outcome.
Yes.
Is what I wrote down. Define your outcome. What is your mind to do here? What is mind? What is mind?
What is mind to do? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what is mind? What did I write that? What is mind to do here? Define your outcome, because if you don't know, the universe and everyone else around you is going to be scrambling, trying to solve your problem.
Yep.
Or you're going to be overthinking, number 1. You're going to be going round and round in a circle. So what
feeling
is it
stuck. You're going to feel stuck. Right?
Yeah. Just so define that. Define your desire, really.
And so then I loved how these tips all flowed off each other, because the next one where I talked about the thing that we are powerful creators, yes, but we are co-creators. And so when we define what our outcome is, we then are not to get caught up with the cursed house. How is this going to happen? How do I have to do that? No, you set your intention and then look at what's yours to do and trust the flow of it all. The universe co-creates or responds to you doing your bit, and then it does its bit with you, for you, right?
Yeah. And that's what I talked about with my daughter going away, and Tanya just putting her hand on my shoulder and just saying, what if it did work out?
That's right. Yeah, because that's when you said about the failure aspect.
Yeah, the failure. Yeah, totally.
The other side. Yeah.
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 Okay, which we actually flowed into the spectrum of the balance.
Yeah.
As we jump around again.
The flowers and the weeds.
Yeah, that's the one. And so we've got both ends of the spectrum. We've both got the light and the dark, which we talked about. And so what end of the spectrum is, and I guess that also jumps back to number 2 is labeling that.
Yeah.
Just going, okay, I can see this is a dark or this is a light.
Yeah.
And the dark's not bad.
That end. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see I'm cold. I can see I'm warm. We had to giggle this morning because this morning Moira was getting warm in her office, and we're a little bit colder here in New Zealand. And so I today had the heat pump on warm for the first time I've had in a long time, and Moira's shutting off the blinds to allow the sun. To block the sun coming out. And I'm like, of course, there's the balance right there. So what end of the spectrum are you? And being aware of that. Yeah,
definitely. And then our next one is our joint favorite thing to say is gratitude. Gratitude, celebrate, play, excitement. Like, look at what's coming up for me to deal with. That one came up when you were talking about, you're bopping along and then just hit a wall.
Yeah.
And
okay.
yes. what's this going to
Oh, we've got
show?
a goodie in here.
Yeah.
And that one can go back to, at the start, how we did a 0 to 10 check-in on ourselves. We go, oh, I've got a 10.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sitting at a 10.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to celebrate that. I don't want to celebrate that, but okay,
That would
I'm
be
going
the
to celebrate
saboteur
it.
voice.
Yeah, that's it. And it is in that tone. Because, oh, I've got something to work on. This is a goodie. This is a goodie. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
Definitely.
Then one of our favorite sayings is the flow of it's on the way.
Yes.
Not in the way.
Not in the way.
And bringing that back to tip number 3 is that hand on the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's on the way. It's not in the way. It's on the way.
Yep.
And I reference that. I probably actually say that daily to people. This is on the way. And they're like, no. Like, trust me, it is. It's on the way. And then we unpack it. But just those little things. This is on the way. Yep. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I can see that. Yeah.
It helps you take power when we do that, right? When we do that, it's like, oh, okay, it's on my way. So I'm going to continue taking the baby steps, maybe. Right.
Yeah. I just had more tips come in then. I went, oh no.
Oh no.
No, I'm not. Okay. You or me? Mine wasn't I'm going to say the next one. The next one was environment.
Yes, it was yours, because I just did gratitude, celebrate, play, excitement.
You?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so yes, environment.
People, surroundings, squeaky chair. just reassess it. Absolutely. It. And it's not painful.
Yeah. This
is not well, mine was painful for a year and a bit. I can feel it. But it doesn't have to be painful. So reassess that.
Yeah.
What goes back to the other tips. What do you desire?
Yeah. I think that's an important one too, the environment, because environment is actually a reflection of our inner landscape too, right? So what's going on around you is like, okay, wait. And that's what I was saying to you is like, well, the loving, kind being inside of you has to go, okay, so how long are you going to tell a story about this thing in my environment, this chair?
I know. I didn't. So that was, even when I started to assess how long that went, that was 1.5 years. That would have been 1.5 years, because I've been in this house for a year. That's 1.5 years. That's probably more that I've put up with that squeaky, lopsided chair that would give me butt ache.
Yep.
But I obviously found value in it. It was easier just to put up with that than actually spend 5 minutes, find a chair, order it, and I spent more time ordering it than I did putting it together. I broke one part and emailed the guy and said it's missing. And he said, that's the part that you need to take out. And I went, oh, that'll teach me for telling a lie.
Oh,
that's a bit of a giggle. But it's perfect. It's perfect. But yeah, that environment. Look at that environment. Yeah,
definitely. Then the second last one I've got is to start little.
And moisturize your legs. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, moisturize your legs every day. But that's when I talked about making steps forward, not getting stuck in your chair saying, oh my God, I have to figure everything out before I actually start any action, is to take, even if it's the tiniest baby step, doesn't matter, but you're still taking a step. So we sort of said start little, but don't then let that be a destructive thing of like, oh God, what's wrong with me? I should be able to achieve what's more in a step.
Well, that jumps back to what if it did work out?
Yes, absolutely.
All these, start little, which little is not little.
No.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Oh, okay. I don't know that one, but of course Moira does.
I paraphrased it because
that's true though, but that's so true. I even say to people, they go, oh, I'm not exercising, and I'm like, I'm just walking to the letterbox and back, and I'm like, you're doing more than somebody else who's just lying on the couch.
Yeah. I'm
just going to walk around the block and I'm like, you're doing more laps than someone who's lying on the couch.
Yeah.
And there's just start little. Yep. The last one I'm going to say before I'm going to throw a side swipe to Moira, who has no idea what's going on, is I'm going to say I am worthy.
Yeah.
And however that means, standing outside in the rain, the sunshine, inside your house, sitting on the toilet, hide from the kids, hand on heart, I'm worthy. Just reminding yourself that you are a magnificent being here in this world with significance.
With significance and importance.
Yeah. I would love you to pull out that card again that you
I knew you were going to do it, because I had it sitting right here. You kept saying you're going to throw something at me that I didn't know, and I'm like, yeah, I think so.
And you, and of course, she said this to me earlier when we got on, before we started recording, and it just really moved me. And so I'm going to be quiet for once, and I'm going to let her read this, and then we're going to, I'm ending it off. Okay.
Yes, you are. Okay. So I'll read this out, and then you can wrap us up.
This is
but what's really fun is that this card is called I Am Interactive. I just giggled at that because that's me being interactive with you, that I knew you were going to do this. So
I love this.
It says, when I am truly being myself, I experience a space and an ease that allows me to hear the whispers of the earth, of my body, and of the universe, and flow with them all simultaneously and effortlessly.
I've got my little goosies and
goosebumps.
I know. What a beautiful way to end it off. What a beautiful way to end that. And that's one of Moira's cards.
Yeah.
That's actually her
inner truth cards.
That she has, and it's very significant. Very significant. Wow, how to end that and then jump into this is okay. Thanks, everybody. So we'll just go straight to the masculine brain here. I was a 2, Moira was a something, you podcast listeners were a something, Moira was a 1. Where are we all at now? Share, everybody. Share where you were and where you are, because there's I'd like to think everyone's a 0 on this, but I'll be realistic. It's okay. Stop overthinking. Moira, where are you?
I am a 0. Definitely.
I'm a 0. What a beautiful...
This was awesome.
Very different.
I loved the flow and how, wasn't it beautiful going back through the tips? Number 1, we both nailed every single one, which is actually very unusual for us.
Yeah.
And how each one just morphed.
Flowed.
I just love them. So we'd love to hear from the listeners too. What was your favorite? And did we miss anything?
Yeah. And what, is there a tip that they would like to share with us?
Definitely.
We're open to that. So if you liked this, the next step is get those cards off Moira. Because they're pretty cool. But let us know. The next step is actually to comment. Let us know where you moved and what was your most significant, because I think today for me was a real beautiful one. That was exactly what I needed in my world right now.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, internet. Thank you, dogs, for not interrupting.
Yeah. Thank you, Kat, for staying quiet too.
Yeah. And thank you, Moira, for pulling this podcast together for us.
Thank you, dear Deb.
Thanks.
It's been lovely. Thank you, listeners.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.